Data World.
Yeah, how's it going? I'm Natalie. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And you're Dave?
Yes.
Excellent. Dave, good to meet you. Is it?
Dave too.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Easy to remember. Yeah. I know. I thought Data World was interesting. I saw everybody. They kind of rushed to Brett though, and the guy that presented. I'm like, I'm just gonna email them later.
What is it called?
Yeah, there you go. I work for a data center colo company.
Okay.
I was interested to understand whether if they utilize the cloud or if they have any on-prem data hosting that they do. So I was kind of curious about that, but I didn't want to. I don't know. I felt like there were a lot of questions, and I'm not sure how applicable my questions would be to everybody else in the room. So it's always like that fine line, should I stick around or wait? It was all the way up north too, so
yeah,
I just jetted out.
James will probably be able to adequately answer your question.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. He seems pretty knowledgeable
Seems
about
like he was very much.
the demo.
He was good at so for a business development guy to have that high
The technical knowledge as well.
understanding,
Yeah, no, I think that the most successful business development people do have kind of that, technical acumen they can bring in as well.
So who do you work for?
It's called V Exchange, VXCHNGE. So we do our space cooling for just companies that want to have non-prem presence. And we have just one location in Texas. We're in Austin only, and 14 different data centers in the US though.
Those are your clients? Or do you actually manage the data centers?
Yeah, so we run the data centers.
Okay.
Yeah. So my title is customer success manager. So I'm on the sales team, but I do a lot of operations as well. So yeah, I think that part's kind of the interesting part. We actually we have a pretty neat customer portal where they can keep an eye on their assets in the data center, and it shows you how much power their circuits are drawing at once. So I get to monitor that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So there's
Yeah. So that is a software product that we do provide customers, and we provide free of charge too. So it's pretty neat.
yeah, I can only see that being a benefit to
Yeah. So I get to manage that. So it is a little more technical than me just going out and selling. So it's cool. Yeah. So you're Insperity? Okay.
third party HR.
Oh, cool.
Provide HR services, technology platform, and also benefits packages for small businesses.
Gotcha. Okay.
A lot of times small companies will have health insurance, but providing health insurance as they purchase it from the marketplace is not always
Right.
good insurance, it's not always affordable.
Yeah.
And so we just really tackle that.
Cool. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. We utilize a service I think called Bright Choices. Does that sound familiar? That's what my company uses.
For benefits. Yeah. And then we use payroll.
We use ADP. Yes.
See, that's common is to have ADP or payroll service and benefits provider, and then even still another platform where you sort of file all your HR forms.
Yeah.
We are sort of
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's cool. I went out, so I've been with my company The Exchange for about 6 months. So I started actually at the very beginning of the year, and we just did a new hire orientation, week-long training thing up at one of our headquarters locations in Secaucus, New Jersey. And I got to meet our HR administrators for the company, and they went through everything, and they're so nice. They're like, if you have any trouble, electing benefits, we offer 5 different plans, so we know it can be a lot. And I'm like, I just went through all of this a couple of months ago, but I think it was for the people that we just hired maybe a month or so ago. But I just got the whole benefits crash course with my company pretty recently. So it was good. Yeah, it was good. The two ladies that work in HR for us, they kind of look the same. They used to work together. Gosh, I can't remember where they came from. Yeah, and
They're
they,
sort of traveling around.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they said they were a package deal, so I don't know how the folks from my company found them, but they were super nice and helpful, so.
Hey y'all, I'm Lee Christie. Do y'all want to just kind of all get together and kind of have a round table and make this a little bit more informal?
yeah.
You good with that? I would love that. So I'm gonna sit down like over here, and if everyone can just kind of, it might be a little bit easier for us.
Sure.
No, why are you in?
I said I don't have to.
Oh, I was like, no, you don't. So how are y'all? You good? Great, yeah. I feel like everyone just went that way.
I just sold like a lot of reviews. So
Oh, it's. So hopefully, how's NewCo going? Is this your first session or multiple sessions today?
Last one.
You made it through?
first.
First?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I know last time.
Well, I'm Lee Christie. I'm the Executive Director of the Entrepreneurs Foundation. I have been with EF since 2009, started as a contractor running a youth entrepreneurship program that we launched in 2009, grew that, and then rolled over into the organization. I'm an attorney by trade. I practiced for about 4.5 years up in the Northwest. I'm in Seattle at a Philly-based firm. What I really love about EF, important to know, is we operate like a startup. So we move very fast. We're not afraid to fail. We try a lot of things that don't work. And then we're like, we'll do that again. Or we'll try something and make it better the next year. We're always evaluating what we do to figure out, is it impactful? Do our companies enjoy it? Do they like it? Are they getting anything out of it? If they're not, we move on. EF was started in 1999 by venture capitalists, entrepreneurs and friends, AV, Austin Ventures, Bill Bach, who was the founder of Dazzle before it sold to HP, Vincent and Elkins, DLA Piper. Thanks, Sam. At that time, companies, especially tech companies, weren't getting involved in the community. It's just what it was like then. We came about in order to help entrepreneurs and their businesses set aside equity. So we held donor advised funds for these companies so that when they go through a liquidity event, those funds that are monetized, and they're able to give those back to the community, really to any 501c3 in good standing. EF takes 20% off the top is how we operate, and the rest sits in your donor advised fund. So that's how we've been going since 1999. Along the way though, we started to grow, I would say more, about 10 years ago, really started focusing on employee engagement more. Nonprofits in town didn't have websites that showed how you could get involved, how you could volunteer. Now, great nonprofits do that really well. It also was a time when I would go work with our tech companies. We've had over 150 tech companies in our portfolio, ranges from small to large, WP Engine, HomeAway, Sparefoot, Spreadfast, UShip, small ones, Aceable, Dropoff. And I think the biggest thing I used to meet with them on was, who can we hire as your chef? That was when companies were trying to figure out how to provide meals for everyone in-house. Everyone was starting to get ping pong tables and all these games. It was a beer fest. But then as we have grown, we really have become more about building corporate cultures with our tech companies and getting them involved on the ground in a more meaningful way. More and more tech companies, and we only work with tech companies, that's just our specialty, have someone in-house now who's actually concentrating on people, their practices, how they're getting involved. Just like I was saying, we have over 150 portfolio companies that are based in Austin during this time since 1999. Our companies, through our donor advised funds, have given back over $11 million and 125,000 volunteer hours. And that's just out of our DAF that we hold for them, and those volunteer hours are only things that my team would touch. So if the company does something else they did on their own, that wouldn't be captured. So as you can see, our tech companies in town are extremely active in the community. I think honestly one of the best things I do is partnerships. I think the most fun one to talk about is the skills and the core competencies. But there are two other, there's money, right? There's cash donations. There's manpower, time, and sweat. Those usually require ibuprofen, or you're digging ditches, or you're building something, or you're serving in a soup kitchen, or you're making deliveries for Mobile Loaves of Fishes, you're sorting cans, you're actively involved in doing something. In Austin, you can do that where it requires no money, or you can do it where it does require money. It just depends on how the nonprofit is set up. And based on where a company will play, usually has everything to do with, do they even have money to do that activity? Is it that important to them? Or they just may not have it. A lot of, I would say, younger tech companies are head down as they should be trying to become profitable. So setting aside a few $1,000s each year may not be something that they're doing or ready for. And then the skills and core competencies is actually where we're starting to play more with our companies in the community. And I'll talk about that. I actually would love to get any input from y'all on if y'all are doing anything. It's just not cookie cutter. I think it depends on the nonprofit and the partner in the for-profit space of what that looks like and is it a success. So cash sponsorship, I was talking with a company the other day. There is usually, sometimes a partnership truly is cash. A nonprofit or an organization in Austin may truly just need cash. And that might be a really great fit for a company who does matching. That might be great for someone who has a donor advised fund. A lot of our entrepreneurs, when they do go through a liquidity event, let's say they have $90,000 in their DAF. Well, on day one of that monetizing, they may issue 3 checks, $33,000 each, right? Or whatever they want to do, or however they want to divide that up, and give that chunk of money to a nonprofit. And as one of our founders says, when money comes out like that to a nonprofit, it truly is like pennies from heaven, right? They didn't budget for that. They didn't have to go ask for it. It literally is a check that probably will move a needle for them. It'll either start, grow, or enhance a program or a project they're doing. We also see companies who will make 2- and 3-year pledges, so then the nonprofit can actually set their budget to that. Also, we see it as a launching pad. We'll see a cash sponsorship, like a lot of times Habitat for Humanity. You might do a tech build for $50,000, $60,000, and it does take the cash to get out there. But then it might start the relationship where you come out and build more often, or you have your employees who are building on the weekends with their families. So you're seeing your employees engage at a higher level and a deeper level, and they're actually happier because of that. And by that company putting dollars into it, it actually starts a chain of events that's really positive for your employee base. I think it's also really important to remember on the cash partnerships is if you have matching or if you have employees who are interested, it's really a wonderful thing, even if it's a small amount, to grow a partnership with a nonprofit where it's a set amount each month and the nonprofit can actually rely on that. So even if it's $50 a month, it's something the nonprofit can put in their budget and rely on that's coming from your organization. And then it allows you to grow as your interest grows with them or move on. This is a fun one. We just got done with our last event. Our companies love to go do things in the community. These are great partnerships. They're not always the most impactful. They're volunteer hours. They can be truly impactful, but they're hours on the ground. So it may be that you have money to put behind it and you give $10,000 in order to go do whatever that organization wants to do with that $10,000. It might be building a playground, but it may not be something that they truly need. It just may be a cherry on top of a scrambling organization that needs something else. But I will say that now nonprofits make it extremely easy to start a partnership, right? You can go on a website, and for a lot of them, and there's no oversight needed, right? You don't need a manager in your company, you don't need a leader to do it. You can literally have anyone take on the responsibility to sign up your team, no cash involved, and you show up. It is a great way for companies to start learning more about local nonprofits and organizations and partners that you might want to grow a partnership with. So we have very large companies, creditcards.com is one of our companies, and they really like to hop around and figure out, well, what else do I not know about in town that might be a really great fit for our company? And I think it's great because Faith, who I work with there, she and Chris will make really great and purposeful decisions based on information that they've experienced. So the more their company and their team gets out in the community, the more they know about their employees, the more they know what makes them excited to get involved in the community, why do they work for this company. They're learning more about each other. They're having more fun, and so that allows the company then to direct that partnership and money if it's available. But I do think the minimal oversight is really, really attractive to most people. I think one of the biggest drawbacks to something like this is not putting a bow on it. So, for example, we had one company who was really, really excited that they did a big event at the Children's Museum, the Thinkery. But when they left, they couldn't even say what the Thinkery does. And I just thought it was such a missed opportunity because the Thinkery is extremely wonderful in this community for the outreach they do with kids who otherwise couldn't afford to go to the museum. But there wasn't a bow put on it, right? There wasn't any circle back on what do you do, what can you do with the money, we just donated to have our event here. And then the company didn't really realize the impact of who they were donating to. So though it was simple and easy and fun, they missed the connection to truly grow a partnership. And that's the one thing I don't like about when you just show up and give back hours. I have a picture here. This fall service day, I had over 400 team members and 16 local tech companies out in an elementary school. We've been doing that for about 4 or 5 years. That actually grew out of a really great partnership we formed. So I worked very closely developing a relationship with the superintendent, with the facilities department, and most importantly, the gentlemen who work on the grounds of AISD every day. They became my best friends, and they're probably one of the best groups of people I've ever met in my life. But by growing that partnership with AISD, I was actually able to walk onto an elementary school campus and talk with those who were in charge of whether or not we could build something, plant something, or create something. So that developed over 4 and 5 years' time. The benefit, our companies got to show up and have an amazing time. These are just 4 fun pictures. That's something that I think we do really well. When our companies show up, we do make sure they understand the impact of what they're doing. We make sure that they have a great time. We make sure that they meet the people that they are actually benefiting. And then we also make sure that it's completed in a day or completed in the time frame. To me, that's a key partnership. Just being able to rely on the person you're working with. For example, we used to do probably 7 hours a day. I think these teams worked about 6.5 hours, but we made sure that at 6.5 hours, everything was completed. So for this project, we completed these teams plus I guess another 13 teams. Tech employees actually built an ADA track. The school didn't even have a track. It never had. They boxed up an entire school so that the teachers could actually go home to Puerto Rico and Mexico to see their families, because otherwise they were going to be stuck with no pay, packing up their classrooms for the remainder of the week. And these were key things for the company to know. So here you have engineers, developers, HR, sales. They need to know why what they're doing is so important and why you pulled them from their desks. And I do feel certain that the partnership we had made with AISD truly made it impactful, and these teams show up every year to do this. And we do these twice a year. I also think it was actually only 3 weeks ago, we launched a partnership with the organizations in town who focus on homeless outreach. And that actually grew out of a partnership that I formed with the chiefs of police through APD and a homicide detective. And you can imagine when I would get calls from homicide detective what my children wanted to know why Detective Schmidt was calling me. But I actually became friends with them, and I took it on to get to know what they do. I was instructed when I started looking at APD, Lee, this would be so great. Our companies would love to be out in the parks with APD officers. This is what we want out of this relationship. Well, I actually spent time on drug raids. I did police routes in the parks with the park police. I actually spent time with them. I still have coffee with the chiefs. I still want to know what's going right, what's going wrong, what they're struggling with. I know how busy they are. I know that if I'm on a call with one of them and they say, Lee, I gotta go, it's probably a good reason they need to go. Usually they'll say, I just got a shooting, we have to go. But because of that, I was able to create really, really great experiences for our companies. So I learned that through these relationships, I learned that no police officer wants to be side to side with a bunch of people in the parks. They're already 300 man short, not a good fit. They also don't, a lot of the officers don't even live in Austin proper. They don't like to live where they're arresting and putting people in jail. There's a lot of things I learned. I learned what it was like when they would go on drug raids and we would meet at 4 o'clock in the morning and these officers had to rely on people they've never met before. So out of that came, okay, wonder if we open it up to our tech partners. Do you want to know what it's like on the streets for a police officer? So we opened up APD write-outs for everyone who even wanted one. And that's actually something any of you can go do, but who would have known that if I didn't open up with, tell me about yourself, let me go on write-outs, let me go spend the day with you, let me go figure this out so I can figure out where that intersection is with our tech companies. So from that grew APD write-outs. I think we put over 70 tech partners, employees, and you can actually choose the sector you want to write in. You can also choose the time of day. You can go out with a domestic violence counselor and go see that. You can, it was just amazing to me to be able to communicate what you can do in our community. The other thing that rose out of that is the need for APD recruiting. They were looking at their forms and how can they recruit officers with more empathy? How do you recruit for empathy? Bring in Bizarre Voice and WP Engine. They hire for empathy. Why don't we get everyone around a round table, and have that conversation? It's exactly what we did. We had C-suite from Bizarre Voice, SailPoint, WP Engine, we had the chiefs of police, we had the APD recruiters, we had the people who trained the cadets, and we all sat around at a round table and talked about, well, how do you do this? That's huge for our companies. Another thing that happened, we brought in Spreadfast, Google, and JDI to have a roundtable conversation with FBI agents and government officials around ARIC, which is the Austin Regional Intelligence Center that's located downtown. It's actually where they track people for the propensity for violence on social media. What better people in the room to have than Google, who has to approve search warrants for the police. We actually had an FBI agent sitting at the table that said, it takes me so long to get a search warrant approved. And I was like, and here would be Google. And he gave his number out to everyone at the table. So it truly is about asking the questions and figuring out where you can fit in and what that need looks like. We also worked in the parks for that service day. We had the canines come out and people got to meet the canine dogs and meet the trainers and learn about what do you do. We also had the police with their horses come out, and no one knew, but it's actually part of the requirement for every officer to do community hours. So we weren't actually asking the officers to burden themselves on what they're already doing. It's actually part of what APD does in the community, which is community outreach and information. Based on that partnership, we did a lot in the community. We also followed up. We now have companies who are continuing to work with APD. So Spread Fast is continuing. One of the chiefs called me and said, hey, we're launching a new effort. I need someone who can help us with marketing and brand development, called Retail Me Not. The next day we were on the phone, that partnership started. And the great thing is they already had a touch point with APD. They already give back in certain ways to their Blue Santa and a run. And so to me, even the manpower, time, and sweat, right? If you get out there but you just approach it as a what can I learn, where can we play, you'll start finding very meaningful ways to engage, whether that's individually with your employees or your C-suite. This was a couple weeks ago. This is Blackbaud. Blackbaud is a key sponsor of us. They actually sponsor an event every year for us. This is where we had over 400 people out at Mobile Loaves and Fishes. The key to this partnership was communicating. So this event was unlike any other event we had done. Usually our teams show up knowing exactly what it's going to look like, how you're going to succeed that day, what your goal is, what that goal looks like. You're going to get really dirty. You're going to be digging ditches. You're going to hate Lee at the end of the day. Or you're going to be wiping books and bookshelves the whole day. This didn't look like that. We actually had people show up and everyone had to take a deep breath and understand that you're going to be well taken care of today. You're going to be working alongside residents who are formerly homeless. You're going to get to know their stories. You're going to understand more about the village, and you're going to do what's asked of you. I have to say it was one of the best things we've ever done. The companies really took it as a way to get more involved and to learn. It's probably without exception, I had more CEOs walk up and founders at the end of it and said, I really want to make sure we keep doing this. So just that ability to take a breath and to learn from the residents and how it was changing their lives. This is a fun one. This truly is, to me, the best thing, especially with tech companies. But it can be any type of company. It's really using your skills and your core competencies. It is where we seem to be spending a lot of our time as a team. However, we launched a program last year. A CEO and I sat down and he said, Lee, if I see another brilliant engineer digging a ditch at a playground, I can't watch it anymore. We've got to figure out a way to use these mindsets and skills and really put them in practice to those who need it. So we launched. That's what EF does, right? We try things out. We try to figure out what's the best approach. 3 key things that I want to highlight here. Really what it means to do that. It's really using the skills you use every day, but you use it outside the office. Most employees would welcome that opportunity as long as the C-suite signs off on it. You're not asking them to do anything outside work. They're actually using their time during work to do good, and they're just offering their skills and time to make someone, their organization more impactful or runs more smoothly. And then the one thing in the end is really making sure that it's completed, it's successful, and it's sustainable. We learned a lot on that. So essentially what we did was I decided to reach out to about 30 or 40 different nonprofit leaders I know well and say, what do you need help with? I've got about 10 different tech experts who have signed up to give back. What do you need? And here are their expertise, and we put it down, by headers. So we started learning what they needed. And then we sat down in a room with these experts and said, okay, what seems like a good place to start? We're gonna make this a success, so we're only gonna choose 2 right now. We selected the 2 that we thought were the best fit, but keep in mind that some of these needs needed things from sales to developers to marketing to you name it. And we had CEOs and tech leaders from all different types of firms or companies, and a lot of these were young founders. So the founder didn't really have anyone else on his or her team. They were just bringing their skills and they really wanted to give back, and this was a way they could do that. So that's what it looked like. It was kind of a piecemeal approach. We thought it was brilliant. I would never do it again. It wasn't brilliant. Buy-in from leadership. So what we did is, this was a feel-good approach, and we thought, let's drop the business side to this and let's make this feel good, right? But what we failed to do was to look at this as a true partnership. We failed to look at this as, what does each party need? How do we clearly define and put it in writing? What is the deadline here? What is everyone up for? For example, WP Engine team worked on something. They had set number of hours to do it, and they had a timeline when they could get that done. The same was for the other CEOs and founders. They didn't have an unlimited amount of time to work on things. So by not putting it in writing, it also left it up to whomever they would be working with to change the scope of the project, which is not sustainable. If you're coming on board to do one project, you treat it like a business. You actually write down what you're going to accomplish, what the deliverable is going to be, or you track the hours. And even better, that when you are sitting with that nonprofit or that partner, after that meeting, you actually send them a list of who's going to do what, and then you let them know where you are on hours. I know with a company that we are extremely fortunate, JDI, we are one of their main nonprofits, but I know if I'm sitting in a room and I have 4 of them sitting in a room, I'm going to make that meeting as quick as possible, because I know, every hour for each of these is being billed to my account, which I might need them all there, but I also need to know that those are hours donated that I might be wasting. We did learn in the beginning, exchanging emails, phone calls didn't work. It really did need to be in person. I've also found that with every partnership we have been successful at, if the leader is not at the table or doesn't have specific buy-in, something's going to go wrong. So, for example, one nonprofit we helped, I know the leader very well, but I didn't see there was a necessity in this instance to bring her in. I thought, I've got her team, I've got the doers, I really like working with the doers, they're the ones that put the sweat, they're the ones who you have the visionary and then you have the doers. Love the doers, because the doers know the real story. But what happens when a doer goes away? Then you get a call from a new doer who says, I heard we're doing something with you. Can we meet? No, we can't meet. No one has time to meet again. We're on a strict timetable, and you actually have 5 CEOs and founders who have set aside time. We need to respect that, and we also want to respect your deadlines. So we learned a lot from that. I actually would have pulled in the leader from day one, said this is what we're committing to. Does this feel right? Is it all good? Thumbs up, let's go attack it and complete it. And I would do that for the for-profit as well. If you're asking people to set aside time, if they're going to be using time at the office, I would get C-suite involved on that. Or as a founder, I would approve it. Because what happens when that person has to work on a deadline? Can they pitch it to someone else sitting next to them or at the other side of the room that they can pick up that ball and run with it? That's really important. And that was our other thing. We really weren't prepared for life and work to get in the way. And I think we were successful on the projects, but the hiccups truly were that by working with so many people at so many different organizations, when one person, his wife had a baby, phenomenal, but no one could do what he was doing. But if you go to a bigger organization or you actually have a team, then you can actually pitch to each other, right, when you need the help. And then it doesn't impact the nonprofit, which I think is even more important.
What's your completion rates been when taking all those factors into consideration for every 10 companies and nonprofits you work with in a project? What's your project completion rate?
Well, project completion on anything we do on a service day, 100%, well, that's not true, probably 95% complete. The problem is if we set up a partnership and all the supplies are bought and all of those maintenance workers are there and the facilities crew is there, when our teams leave, it now becomes weekend work for those facilities and maintenance workers.
Yeah.
So to me, that's not fair.
Yeah.
But I will say that our tech companies, it's insane how fast they work and how hard they work. So I think sometimes we can underestimate how much a crew can do. I do find that usually type A, strong working people, when they're outside of the office, they want to do work. They're not there to chat. They don't want to just sit around and have lunch. They'll eat lunch for 15 minutes and then be like, what's next? Let's do it. I'm here. And they want to attack project after project. The tech projects, the tech share projects that we're doing, a little bit different. What I did see was the project started to expand. And so then I would have a founder calling me going, I gotta go raise Series B. I can't do this anymore. The nonprofit just doesn't understand that. So that's when we were backtracking and saying, you know, we really did start this partnership off unlike a business, but yet we should have treated it as such so that everyone is held to a high standard.
Yeah.
The right fit for the parties. We had one nonprofit that we had someone come in and it just wasn't a good fit. So I think in hindsight, if you have a new team member coming on or you think you have someone who might be a good one to partner with, you should have a phone call or at least figure out what's their goal. Do they really have the time? I mean, it really is like matchmaking. It really has to be a good fit. And I have found that the companies and the organizations where it works the best are the ones that are truly honest about whether or not it's a good fit. It's okay to say no. Totally okay. And then you do need a chief. And that chief can be anyone. But you do need someone checking in on everyone, what else is needed, running any interference. You need someone keeping track. One, it will hurt the partnership if you begin something and don't follow through. Your employees will also get truly frustrated that that wasn't a good experience for them and they felt like it was a waste of time. So you need someone who can be behind the scenes saying, you really need to get this done.
Yeah.
And that's usually me.
Yeah. That's one chief for both teams?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And it's really knowing the players really well. So for example, WP Engine's a phenomenal example. So this nonprofit needed help with some back-end stuff. And WP Engine actually put it in a package and said, here you go. So that organization now could actually work through step by step on what to do. But WP Engine actually worked really well together on their team to create it and to deliver it. And then I was there to make sure that the nonprofit was now able to keep moving forward. So that's the next key. When you do work on a partnership, you do want it to last. And I will say that I think that's the great success of EF and our tech companies is we value our partnerships, we return favors, and we're also really honest when something doesn't work well. Something may not be a good fit, and we learn along the way. Team approach is ideal. I do believe if you're going to take on a tech project or something, life happens. Just have a team do it. Don't just have one sole person, especially if your company name's associated with it. You don't want that. And then I think with anything, especially if you're doing a project to benefit an organization, truly teaching them to be successful, because it's unlikely that person's gonna be there forever and that you're gonna have unlimited hours in the future, you have no idea. So to be able to take a partnership and either see that relationship between those two parties grow on something, or for it to have a bow on it and say, this is great, this is done, I think either works. And really, lastly, I struggle with this because it's really, sometimes when you're done with something, right, you just wanna walk away and you're already behind. So you're constantly moving forward. But people truly should know what they did and what it meant, especially for the Austin community. When we did organizations for the homeless, we had Mayor Adler come and speak and introduce it. We had ECHO, Integral Care, Mobile Loaves and Fishes, LifeWorks, Caritas, and we had a whole panel conversation on what does the homeless community look like in Austin. And that was really impactful. But then at the end of those 9 days, the key is to circle back and say what's next. This is how you can continue to get involved as an individual, as a company, as a founder, as a leader. And it may just be a simple understanding so that you can speak more to that point. Or as your business grows, your team grows, you can find other ways to plug in the community. I think writing about it and content creation, the storytelling is huge. I spoke with the CEO 2 days ago and he was starting to do a matching program, and his approach, which I actually thought was brilliant, was he said, well, we're gonna do X number of dollars for any employee, but it has to be to a nonprofit and X, Y, and Z. And then we talked through X, Y, and Z, and it wasn't really gonna work. And he said, you know what? He said, I will match this many dollars, but at the end of it, you have to circle back and tell the story of what you did and how it impacted. Content creation, right there. 250 employees who could potentially creating content of how they gave back in the community. It did not burden his team of individuals who was in charge of the operations or the event planning. And you also had individuals who were able to brag on what they did, right? And to highlight what they did in the community and to showcase that. I thought that was a really brilliant idea, because I think content creation often falls by the wayside, and it's key for recruiting, sharing and onboarding processes, keeping employees happy, and having successful companies. I think that might be it. Anyway, it's honestly, I think for me, it's the best thing I do is to help companies create partnerships. I also think, what's key is getting out of the way. So if you're creating a partnership for your organization or someone else, that you allow that partnership to grow. So my job, for example, when I introduced Chief Gay to Retail Me Not, my goal once the project was launched is now just to make sure Chief Gay is happy and it was a win for him and what did we learn from that. And I'm also supposed to follow up, what did Cotter and his team learn from that? Was that successful? How would we change that? Should we not call and do things like that? Is the one-off, is it too difficult to bring employees in and their time? So we just try to learn from each one. And I don't think that there's one approach to building a partnership, especially when there's for-profit and nonprofit. But I do firmly believe that the best way to do it right is literally to come from the place that you have no idea what you're talking about. So you're literally in a place of learning, and then you figure out where you can fit in. Do you have any questions or comments? That's a lot of information.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What do you have coming up that you're excited about that maybe we could get involved in or I could get involved in
Let's see.
as on a volunteer basis?
I think the next project we've been toying around with how to get our tech companies more involved with the city of Austin. especially in policy work and how to get engaged. There's so many levels of engagement that are possible. And I think younger individuals truly want to get engaged. Sometimes they don't know how. So that's might be the focus in the fall, is focusing on our local government and whatever that issue might be. How do you inform and educate employees to take a step or a stand in whatever way they want to? What does that look like? For example, there are, Austin has so many great opportunities. It's just kind of lassoing those ideas and informing your company and your teams and your employees. So I'd love to work on that. But I'm also itching to do something else with the APD.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed that a lot. Yeah.
You mentioned that you originally came on to the foundation working on maybe a youth initiative. Is that something that that is still part of?
It is, but it's changed. So we launched Lemonade Day Austin in 2009. I ran that until 2013 and then joined the organization full-time. By then, we were probably 22,000 kids a year were involved in the program. And what I loved about that was growing partnerships with school and youth groups and local partners to see where it's a good fit. So for example, everyone kept telling me, oh my gosh, community and schools needs this program. So I went to a couple of meetings. When you're talking to a huge room of counselors who are all grappling with how to talk to a student about suicide or how mommy and daddy aren't coming home, you don't need a youth entrepreneurship program on Lemonade Day. I can guarantee you that, right? So I loved that. I loved being able to get to know our city and our community. We opted after last year to not go forward with Lemonade Day anymore. Reason being is we are the official nonprofit and partner of Capital Factory. So what we do and what we enjoy is truly bringing in youth organizations and school groups who will actually come in for a tour, and then we'll put together a panel of entrepreneurs, men and women, young and older, and kind of talk down what entrepreneurship means. It's such a big word, and you can think entrepreneurially without starting your own business, and we're really, really enjoying that right now. So that's kind of how we've moved into a space that seems to work, I don't know, seems to make more sense for us right now. And they have thousands of kids who come through here every year. Yeah.
I have a quick question. If you're coming from the other side, so from the nonprofit side, how would you get involved with EF?
Call me, email me, bug me.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think our companies are always looking for ways to get involved. Like I just learned about the Down Syndrome Association is now teaching kids how to ride bikes. And so there's opportunities for individuals who like to run and get outside to go teach individuals, these children and adults, how to ride a bike over a week. So I'm constantly looking for new ideas, and it also opens that door for our companies to know the community better.
Okay.
So always open to something new, and they crave that.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Yeah.
And so I'm working on the Center for Social Innovation, which is bringing like nonprofits and for-profits with a social impact focus together under one roof. So I was wondering if there are any like long-term projects where the nonprofit and the for-profit organization can be in close proximity to each other and have like a long-term and deeper relationship.
Probably love that. I know Capital Factory started bringing in a couple of different organizations that would benefit from working here. I think it's hard to, well, it's not hard, I mean, I think it's just finding the right nonprofit and the right company who wants to partner. For example, I know that we had one company who really got to know Max Elliott with Urban Roots really well, and they designed, it was Mass Relevance before they merged, and they built his new website, and then I got a year and a half later, they were actually doing fundraisers for him out of the office. So something like that would actually be a really good fit. And I think one of the big ticket items for a nonprofit is the overhead, so any chance to bring them closer would be interesting. But yeah, huge fan of Dan and Notley and all that y'all are doing. Oh my goodness, y'all are so good. Well, thank you all. I hope it helped. You can always reach out to me if you ever need an idea or you wonder if any of our companies or I have ever heard of anything or ever done anything. We are a complete open book and look at it as just try to figure it out every day and make it better every day. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I'm tired. It's like the half the day. Oh my gosh. It's hard. I think last year I did mine too, and it was so much nicer.
You guys are considered a nonprofit.
We are
Could you
nonprofit.
send me information?
Yeah, it's, what I love about it too, though, is, I think the reason I love working for it is
It's my last
we're so far on that line of for-profit, nonprofit. So we work really fast and,
Some of the stuff you're doing.
Where are you all?
Yeah, so we actually, and
Yeah.
I should know this, so
we've been here for 3 years.
How big is yours? Is it all you, or you got a team that supports you, or?
It all fluctuates, so sometimes it's 5 people, sometimes it's a couple of us, but then we also have,
so.
JDI is a huge team of ours that does.
What did you, I heard you mention, what is JDI?
Jones Dilworth,
And then Austin, I would say, is probably
phenomenal team. So Josh Jones Dilworth is the founder and president, and they are off of North Lamar. Most of their clients are outside the state. Young team, extremely innovative, marketing, web design, content creation. And we work with their team, so one day might be working with 5 or 6 of them. Then we also work with Autumn Richard Ripley, who helps us produce an event, and we literally work with that team every week in person. And then we also work with Cindy Lowe at Red Velvet, and she'll help me produce like an upcoming Oprah event. So we kind of have these outside teams that we bring in for certain events. Small right now too.
We comply with our SLAs, so.
Yeah,
That's a lot of.
and so last summer I think we had 6 or 5.
It's exciting.
We're spending a lot of time on youth entrepreneurship, and actually Joe Blunt was our major sponsor since 2009, and just it seemed like it made more sense for us here to be doing the mentoring and the panels and that as opposed to lemonade thing on top of it.